Are you ready to get the down and dirty into how I organize all my episodes and can do 3 episodes a week? Coming up. Do you want God's plan for your life? Do you want to discover your calling? Do you want to build a business that's aligned with God's will? Hey girl, hey! I'm JEanette, business and faith coach. After a decade in the military, the Air Force said, see you later, and I had to find my true calling. Want to know how God directed my life from a cybersecurity engineer to a faith and business mentor? In this podcast, I'll teach you how to start a business, how to know your business is God's calling, monetization techniques, how to trust the Holy Spirit, and how to set boundaries to listen to His word alone. Ready to become unapologetically unstoppable? Hey girl, hey! I am so glad you're here because I get to talk about my podcast. And I like to talk about like the behind the scenes stuff because that's actually my favorite part. Like I like doing the podcast, but I love the process even more. And I think that's why I'm going to continue doing it for a very long time because the process in doing the things is way more like valuable to me than like, oh, I did this one thing. How many views does it get? How many people are liking it? Because if that was the case, I would have stopped a long time ago. Just saying, just throwing that out there. I would have stopped a long time ago. Okay, so how I organize my episodes is in a Google Sheet, first off. So in my sheet, I've got 3 rows because I do podcast episodes Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The Monday episodes all have titles. The Wednesday ones and the Fridays, it's all about faith. So I do like an out, in, up. So outward is anything outward facing. Your marketing, your website, your social media, anything that's outward facing. The inside is the inside of your business. So the back end, the inside of your organization. Do you have your mission, vision, and values done? Anything that's important to your business on the inside. And then on Friday, it's all about Jesus. Faith up before you get ready for the weekend. And that makes me feel good. Jesus first. Faith is like a cornerstone of who I am as a person. So it's important to me that that's also a part of the podcast and part of my business. I would not be here without Jesus. Okay, so, and then I also have in ClickUp, which is a project management tool that I use because it helps me keep organized with everything. It's free. Just go to clickup.com. I will put it in the show notes as well. In my ClickUp, I've got several lists and like subtasks for each week. So each week has its own list, its own line item, if you will. So we're on week 15 of the year, and I do this by week number of the year, like based on the calendar. So I know which week we're on, and I can always go back to that because that's very important for me to know what that is. Okay, so this is week 15's episode. And so what it says is record episode. That's one item. Next episode, edit item and write description. After that, it says create transcription, approve podcast and description, upload and schedule podcast, graphics. So I've got 6 items per episode that we have to do, and we do them all in a batch per week. So each week has 6 tasks that it has to do. So once you go through the tasks, you have to do them in a batch because it's not per episode, it's per week, if that makes sense. So I've got a podcast editor, and I've got a VA, and there's me, the 3 of us on Team JP LLC. So I record the episode and it's blocked. It's called a blocked task in there. So once I'm done recording the episodes, I will click that saying that I'm done. And then next it will open up and send a notification to Gabby, the editor. So when she's on there, it'll show her, okay, the podcast is edited, and she writes the description, and then it goes off. And then whenever she does something, I also get notifications to my email and to my phone because I don't know why I have them in both places. I really don't like the emails. I just like going into the app and seeing them. I should probably turn that off and just have it on my phone because I use the app on my phone sometimes. So, but when she's done, I see that she's done and I'm like, sweet, everything's going as planned. And that's kind of how I run it. I try and record the episodes 2 weeks in advance. I'm not always good about that. And it sucks for Gabby. I try not to be an ass because that sucks. It sucks as the person that's editing your podcast and you got one going out 3 times a week. So I'm getting better at that, I will say. And so then I have the Google Drive. So in each of these tasks in ClickUp, I've got the main task. It says week 15. In that main task, I've got my 3 episodes in there. So that way, if she's in the task of upload and schedule podcast, she can already go, she knows where it's at. She doesn't have to like go back to a different task. She just goes to the main part of the task and it's got all 3 episodes in there. So let me tell you how I set up my Google Drive. So in my Google Drive, I've got a folder called UU Podcast, Unapologetically Unstoppable Podcast, because I'm very creative, y'all, obviously. So in the podcast, I've got, it's kind of like the archive. It's called published. Number 2 is raw element. So this is all the sounds, the intro, outro that doesn't really change that often. If and when I run like an ad, like a mini ad, those will be in there. And then each episode has its own folder. So the episode folder right now is called season 2 episode, whatever it is, right? So in that folder, I've got 2 folders. One says final and one says raw. So I will upload my episode when I'm done recording it to the raw folder. And in that raw folder, Gabby will go in there. She'll take it down. She'll download it. She'll edit it. And then she'll put it in the final folder. And then I've also got 3 Word documents in here. And I don't always use them. Sometimes I do. It's like all the data that I'm going to need when I'm doing the podcast. So one of them is called script. I was using ChatGPT and I was using it to create scripts for each episode. Sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I use it as research and sometimes I don't. It just depends on how I feel and like the vibe that I'm feeling for the episode. And sometimes I just scratch the whole episode and do a different episode because that's what God told me to do. So I just do that. Then the transcription. I use the transcription so that way I can go back and create content from that. I'll go in there. I'll highlight some different things. My VA goes in there and she will make carousels and Canva. It's great. And then I've got what I call the one sheet. And I love a good one sheet. The one sheet has the episode number on it. It's got the final title on it. And it's got the episode description that she's going to copy and paste into the place where I upload my podcast to. And for me, that place is called Captivate. And I love it because it gives me really good analytics. And I was going to switch somewhere else, but I really like their analytics. Okay. And then it's got like all the current links and things that I'm using. If I use any verses, I will put them in there. So it's easier for Gabby when she is putting the podcast up there into Captivate. And I think that's it. This was like a deep dive, y'all. This is a deep dive into how I podcast. Yeah, I use my spreadsheet with all my titles on it. I use my ClickUp for organization and for project management with all the people that are on the task. I use my Google Drive to put all my assets. And also, I didn't tell you this, but if you put links to your ClickUp, you can also see them in ClickUp. I have a tab on my ClickUp that is just the podcast titles page. So I can go in there and edit my podcast titles if I wanted to. I don't have to go into Google Drive, find that document. I can just do it from ClickUp. So I love ClickUp. It's so amazing. So if you're thinking about starting a podcast, which you should, this is how I'm organizing my stuff. Take it, use it, then improve upon my process that works for you. Because you should never just take somebody's process because that's what they're using. You should take it with a grain of salt because you are not me. And my brain works differently than yours. This is just one way of doing it. You got this. Wow, that was so good. So I know that you know somebody that also needs to hear that. So share this episode. Leave a review. And I would love if you could watch my free workshop at JEanettePeterson.com/missingpiece. I'll see you guys over on the grams at JEanette.Peterson. Bye.